Let's move to Tennessee at number one, because this is one that David Ubben, our colleague, predicted this. He said all along he thought Tennessee was going to be number one. And, if you look at committee history, they like good wins. Tennessee has two really good wins. They've got the win against Alabama, and they've got the win against LSU. The win against LSU is on the road and dominant, and the other one is a win against Alabama. So those are very important data points for them. And, if they lose to Georgia, then Georgia will just leapfrog them and it'll flip-flop. But this tells me if Tennessee beats Georgia and Tennessee goes undefeated the rest of the regular season, Tennessee's in the playoff.
Yeah, there's
regardless
no question
of whether they win the SEC championship game.
Yeah,
let's hear Boo Kerrigan, the committee chair, talking about Tennessee.
When you look at the three teams, all three very, very good teams that the committee really liked, I think the two wins that you're looking at with Alabama and LSU really sealed the day for Tennessee.
Scott, what were you about to say about the Vols? That was Boo Kerrigan on ESPN, by the way.
Yeah, I like where they are. I think they are definitely number one. They have the best and highest quality win of the year. And I guess kind of that along those lines, that's why I'm probably I was less enamored with LSU, because I think when you compare LSU to maybe say Penn State, LSU lost by 27 at home. Penn State lost by 28 on the road at Michigan. I think that's comparable, except for the fact one was at home and one wasn't.
It's the Ole Miss win propping up LSU right now.
Right. But then again, they barely beat Auburn. Penn State blows out Auburn on the road. Yep. So I think right now LSU is a little overrated. That said, they win this week. They're not. So it's just, I think for the first time, that's where they're right. But Tennessee has the best resume, because you compare that to Ohio State. They played some nice teams, not some good teams. And then Georgia, that Mizzou game, really, they should have lost it. They really came close to losing that game. So I thought 3 was more than fair to have Georgia there.
What I think is really interesting, and this is going to be a point of contention all year between Clemson, Michigan, and maybe even Alabama if they get into the picture. But if Alabama wins and they get viewed as beating a top 10 team this week, although they'll only absorb whatever LSU is ranked next week, you have a legitimate case for Alabama to jump into the number 4 spot, which would then set the entire social media world on fire. And it's like anybody who has any seasoning whatsoever on how to follow this knows that Alabama controls its own destiny, and they could rank up at 15 today and it wouldn't matter.
So it wouldn't matter. Exactly.
But the game show, the weekly entertainment vessel that we are called down from God to react to every week would be very entertaining. And when I saw that TCU popped up at number 7, I was like, oh boy, I hope Alabama's in the top 4 just for the meltdown. It would have been like the real life incarnation of the Ass Clown rankings.
It did feel a little bit like that. I was like, could they just rank Notre Dame just for fun? Like,
yeah.
For those who may be new to the show, we do have our own advanced ranking system. It is the Andy Staples Show Computer Laptop Organized Win Nexus. Ari just mentioned what those letters spell. There are some rules to it, and one of those rules is Notre Dame's always ranked. It doesn't matter what kind of season they're having. So it felt a little bit like that. But
my favorite thing about it too in this is that it's always a conspiracy. Like if Notre Dame would have checked in at number 25, everyone would have just been like, it's just a conspiracy to prop up Clemson to be number 4. And it's like, I love those types of comments, because I really do like the people who will flip-flop between History Channel and ESPN on Tuesday nights, and whatever conspiracy theory documentary they're watching, they'll get them conflated with one another. But there is a lot to unpack here. And I do think too that the Pac-12, as much as you hate this, it's become my shtick. They are really well represented right now.
They are. But before we get off of Tennessee, I do want to point out one other thing about the old Vols. Do you know who the happiest person in the country is tonight? The happiest person. Kirby Smart. That's right, Scott. Kirby Smart is looking at those rankings going, they're going to play the disrespect card so hard in Athens on Saturday. It's going to be incredible. So let's go to the big game. Tennessee, Georgia. And I want to know both directions. I want to know, based on either result we could get out of this game, what this ranking looks like next week. If Georgia beats Tennessee, and it's a close game. It's a good game, like a 3-point game, a 4-point game. Where's Tennessee next week?
I think 3.
Okay. You keep them above Alabama because they have the same record and a head-to-head win.
I'm ahead of Alabama in a head-to-head win. Now the tricky thing is what do you do when Michigan wins? Because Michigan's playing Rutgers, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And what do you do if Clemson wins? I think that Tennessee would still be viewed. If you lose on the road to Georgia by 3 after beating Alabama, I feel like they would almost view that loss as almost as like the equivalent of beating Penn State almost. Like
a good loss?
I think I really do think good losses matter, at least in human psyche.
Mm-hmm. I would put them probably I'd put the loser at 5, but they have that growth potential because Ohio State and Michigan are going to play. So I think that they'd probably 1 and 5 is how they'll end up, even though they could be the 1 and 3 best teams in the country.
Okay, so let's say Tennessee wins. Obviously, Tennessee stays at number 1. And let's say same margin. Because I can't imagine them just blowing Georgia out. If they do, we'll have a totally different discussion on Sunday night, and it'll be about, is this 2019 LSU all over again? But if they beat Georgia close, where's Georgia fall?
I'd put them the same way. If Clemson and Michigan both win, I'd put them 5. And if
put them below them, and because now they may not have a chance to get back up at that point because they're not playing a championship game, probably, unless Tennessee really blows it along the way.
Well, Michigan and Ohio State will play. So that because then if you get in a situation where and that's where Georgia's in a tough spot, that they won't have that opportunity to play Alabama to even that out.
And Georgia's at home too. You got to remember that.
Yeah.
So if they go and beat Georgia, then Tennessee, I think that Georgia would fall back behind Alabama because it happened more recently and it happened in their home building. Yeah.
Okay. So let me throw this one at you before we go. We'll make this the final question of the night. If Tennessee beats Georgia by any margin whatsoever, are the Vols in the playoff as long as they go undefeated the rest of the regular season?
Yeah.
What if they lost 59-0 to Alabama in the rematch?
They're not going to do that.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, there is a 1% little thing there.
Okay, there would be a virtual lock. How's that sound?
A virtual lock is fair. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I just don't know what the committee does with blowouts. That's all.
Yeah.
And you're right. Blowouts are a problem, but we've also seen that if you do get blown out, but you did beat that team in another time during the season.
Notre Dame made it still. Yeah.
Hey.
Exactly. Notre Dame Clemson.
Because it is like, honestly, guys, I know we're joking, but like it is very much within the realm of possibility that Alabama gets hot and Bryce Young just goes crazy in the SEC championship game again, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. It happened last year.
It's like
to a team that was probably better than Alabama.
Exactly.
It's like that Oprah Winfrey gif.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.